Why do you keep on attracting emotionally unavailable men? Why is it that no matter whom you date, you end up attracting men that always close up or become distant, or they start to pull away anytime you start to share about what you're truly feeling inside? If you're feeling uncomfortable, or if you're feeling sad, or if you're feeling not connected to him, or anytime you want to actually speak your truth, why is it that the men that you're dating, why do they pull away? Why do they become suddenly unavailable, right? So today we are addressing the root of it, understanding why this pattern happens among women. And we're talking specifically to Asian women because from the experience of working with clients who have been through these relationships that where men are emotionally unavailable, something that I've seen is that it actually comes back to points down to the deeper root of it. The root goes much deeper than it, because it's not just about you wanting a healthy, stable relationship. Wanting something is not enough. It's actually about understanding what is actually choosing the love, right? And so, in terms of women who are used to like really suppressive cultures like Asian culture, there is actually a reason for why you keep on attracting emotionally unavailable men, because this is not just a coincidence, because instead this points to a part of you that is choosing love, that is choosing love even though it is not healthy for you, even though it is not supportive, or even though it does not emotionally fulfill you, even though you don't truly feel that intimacy. And so we're understanding the root of it. So before we do that, first, it's important to understand what we truly mean by emotionally unavailable men. And so from studying my the issues that I have seen among my clients, what I have come to realize is that there is this common pattern. So, any time that a man is emotionally unavailable, he expresses either one or maybe all of these four traits. And the acronym, we have summarized that in terms of the acronym BIND. And it totally makes sense too, because when it comes to emotionally unavailable men, we feel like there is somehow a pull toward them, even though we know that they are not actually healthy for us. There is a part of us that somehow feels bounded to it, right? Somehow feels drawn to it and almost wants to resolve this issue. And so these men, they usually express these traits, which one of them is blame. So blame is a weapon that is commonly used among relationships where you're with an emotionally avoidant partner, emotionally unavailable partner, because anytime you express your emotions, anytime you really express your thoughts about what you truly feel about the relationship, or maybe you're unsure about the future of the relationship, or maybe you're concerned about your parents, your family, you just want to bring up more of these realistic, like the real world challenges and issues and the emotional struggles about it. So instead of actually healthily going about in resolving that together, instead of moving about it as a team, what emotionally unavailable men do is they usually end up blaming you. They blame you for the circumstances, the chaos that happens in a relationship. They blame you. Perhaps it can even be worse in that they blame you for every unhappy situations in their life, right? And so anytime you feel emotions, you feel like you're somehow responsible for it, for him to also going down this emotional roller coaster. You somehow feel bad, or you somehow feel guilty. They make you feel, it can feel like you're guilty, right? They make you feel guilty for having these emotions. And it can actually really trip you up, because you now have internalized this blame. anytime you go about your future relationship, you may think that, oh, maybe he is right. Maybe it is my problem. Maybe I'm the one creating the problem. Maybe I need to do the fixing, right? So you start feeling overly responsible in a relationship, and it feels really heavy. It feels really energy draining, and it's costing you your energy, your life force. And the relationship just feels like this one way thing where you're the one who has to work, right? So when it comes to emotionally unavailable men, blame is a common pattern. And then the other trait that is really common among emotionally unavailable men is ignorance. Again, similar to the blame. So depending on how they normally react, sometimes they may burst open, like they may like puff up, right? For men who puff up, they use blame tactics. For other men, they actually shrink. And so for men who shrink, anytime they deal with the trigger, which the trigger to them is you saying your emotions, like any sort of emotion feels like a trigger to them. So anytime that you bring up, for the men who shrimp, they withdraw, they ignore you. Maybe they close up, maybe they say, oh, they're busy, maybe they cancel plans more, or maybe you just feel this, like there is a form of a shield, a distance between you and them even more. So you feel, again, similar to the blame, you feel like it is your fault for bringing up your emotions. And another common trait that many men in emotionally unavailable relationships, what they do is non-commit, M-I-T-T, non-commitment, where they're not fully committed to you. Maybe you find yourself being in situationships or friends with benefits where you don't know where is it that you're heading with them. And even if they committed to you, even if you become their girlfriend, you still feel like somehow the relationship is not going anywhere, or maybe they are not committed to showing up. Again, they're canceling plans. They're not actually committed to becoming the person for you. So this is a common trait. And the last part is where they get defensive. So if you really stick to your emotions, if you really commit to expressing what you are feeling, or maybe you say, if you feel bad about something, you truly say it, right? Then they get defensive about it. Then they feel like it is a personal attack. So instead of working through things together with you and truly listening to you, sure, they may listen to you, like they may tell you that, okay, tell me, but then you know that they're not truly listening. Instead, they're thinking about how they can defend your point, right? How they can combat against your point. And again, when you are in a relationship with an emotionally unavailable man, it feels really heavy. It feels like you have to fight through, you have to battle through in order to get your needs and your desires to be met, to be seen, to be loved. And the truth is that all these patterns, the reason why they keep showing up, it's actually not because of a coincidence, but the truth is that the root for why they're all happening is because we are actually used to love, used to relationships that operate along those lines. So this goes much, much deeper than relationships. So I want you to think of something earlier than relationships, right? I want you to think of something that is the type of relationships that you've had before you started dating, or whenever you were. It could be with your family, it could be with your cultural society, whatever that may be. The truth is that the reason why we keep on meeting men who display these traits is because we are used to it. It's because we have these patterns are the underlying causes that are operating, right, underneath our psyche, like deep in our psyche, deep in how we go through life. We are used to going about it. So we feel that anytime that we have a relationship, we're unconsciously drawn to men who blame us, who ignore us, who don't commit with us, who defend us. And especially in terms of Asian woman, Asian culture, what I've seen is that this actually makes so much sense, because what I have also, what we can see, what I've also seen in terms of Asian family culture is, again, blame is a very common thing. So maybe parents blame you anytime your grades drop, anytime the family has a problem, right? You are used to feeling like blamed. You feel accountable, you feel responsible for any little bad things, any little conflict that happen in the family. And so blame, again, is the energy that we're used to. And ignorance is also very similar. So you may feel like your parents, they ignore your feelings, right? All of that is, feelings are less important than logic. It's always about the logic. It's always about what they say, what they think makes sense, rather than what you actually feel. So you never feel like your parents, the people in your family, they never truly heard your feelings, but it's more about like what you should do, what you should wear to school, how you should behave in school, how you should talk to your family, right? It's always about the should. And no wonder the same energy is going about in our love life. It's always like the should, right? The should is that you should act a certain way, but if you don't, you're going to be ignored. And your feelings, who you are, everything about you, you feel ignored, right? And also, when similar to non-commitment, the thing is that in our early relationships, like with family, with our school teachers, right, we can also get used to this non-commitment. So what does that look like? It may look like a mother who only does the motherly thing if you behave well, if you do good at school, right? The same thing with your father, right? Maybe he only supports you only if you get XYZ grades, only if you impress your relatives, whatever that may be. There are so many transactions that need to happen in order for them to fully commit to you, like fully be like the stable parent, the stable love there is for you. So just like the above, we are used to this energy. We are used to this energy of like someone you love and someone you trust not being fully there, right? And we can't even fully trust that they will be there. And lastly, again, they can also get defensive. So if you have experienced family situations, if you have experienced parents, conversations where they always say like, don't question me, right? Don't question me. Everything that I do is right. Everything that I say is right. You have to do this, this, this. Again, we get used to this idea, this belief, this feeling around love, this feeling around emotions, the emotional intimacy, right? That you can never have a voice when it comes to your emotions. You can never express it. It's not safe to fully express your emotions. And this is all the deeper reason. The reason why we attract emotionally unavailable men is because it's not just about romantic relationships. It's about how you have experienced relationships early on, the earliest on in your life. It can be as early as when you're like 2 or 3. Because the key with all relationships is that you don't get the love that you want. Okay, you don't get what you want. You get what you're used to. So if you're used to the love, that type of love that blames you, the type of love that says your feelings are less important than logic, than what you should do. If you're used to the love that does not commit, that wavers, that is not steady, if you're used to love that always is adamant about what they believe, but then you don't get to have a voice, you don't have a say in it, then we are drawn to men who also display these. And the thing is that we can be attracted to anybody out there in the world. But the thing is that the people who display these characters, they feel more attractive to us because they feel familiar to us. They represent how love has felt early on in our life. And even when they start having these red flags, they start displaying these characters, we are afraid of letting go of them because we believe deep down that this is how love is supposed to be. We are used to believing that otherwise, if you don't have this, right, you're going to end up feeling like you're going to end up being alone. It's like you have to choose either this or you have to choose nothing, no one, right? It feels like you have no choice. So you can truly feel lost in your love life, not knowing which direction to go because you think that this is the only way. Love, like receiving love from a person like this, is the only way. And that is the reason why the person feels really attractive to you, even though they are not 100% of the time, they're not the 100% stable, 100% peaceful, 100% loving, 100% listening, right? Even though, so we feel like we need to lower down our standards. So you may be okay with 85%, he's great, but then 15% of the time he does these things, right? So another part of your mind, try to rationalize it and think like, oh, maybe that is just him. Maybe I just need to change what I expect from a relationship, right? But the thing is that we want 100%, like we want a heck yes. And we want a love that feels like a heck yes peace, heck yes commitment, heck yes understanding, and all of these things. So in order to rewire this, instead of these love feeling like bind in these areas, so we want to instead get used to an alternative, which also goes with the acronym BIND. So instead of B being blame, we want someone instead who sees our best, who assumes our best. Instead of anytime you bring up a problem, anytime you express an emotion, instead of them thinking that you're the one at fault, we want the person to make us see it, like to someone who sees that you are doing your best. You are with every scenario in life, like you are approaching it in the best way that you could with what you know. And in order to experience it, of course, it comes down to you doing this yourself first. You seeing that with anything in life, you are actually a guiltless being. You are a perfect being. When you do make mistakes, right, you're not doing it because you know it, but you're doing it with what you know best. So what we want to do is we want to have a form of a compassion and inner understanding that love, the truth about love, is someone who sees you in your best. And the same way, when you treat it like that, you can do the same with others, and other people can also see you in the same way. This is how soulmate relationships, like the real divine union relationships, feel like. And so instead of ignoring, we want to investigate. We want to go inward, inquire. We want to go inward, right? The reason why we keep up with men who ignore our emotions is because we are used to ignoring our own emotions. We are used to pushing them down. Anytime that you feel sad or anytime that you feel lonely, maybe you ignored it by browsing your dating app. Maybe you ignored that by watching Netflix. You ignored that by trying to solve the problem in your career, right? Instead of actually looking inward. So what we want to do is, instead of ignoring the emotions, we want to practice that within ourselves. And this makes us become used to a new form of love that you actually desire, that you actually love, where you are emotionally intimate with the other person. And now, instead of non-commitment, we want a love that never leaves. So we want to connect to that type of love. So that type of love can be felt through your breath, can be felt through your vision. There are so many ways on how to practice your connection to the unconditional love that never leaves. And lastly, instead of being defensive, we want a love where you can decide for yourself, right? Where you have a power, you have the inner authority if you want to stay or if you want to leave, right? You know that you have the power, and where other people can feel your power. So we want the decisive power. We want to connect back to it. So, my love, once you focus on these, someone who sees your best, someone like who investigates, someone who goes inward, right? Interested in your inner landscape, your inner emotions, someone who never leaves, someone who, the love that never leaves, the love that allows you to decide in your power. But once you focus on these, actually, instead of just trying to fix this problem, what will then happen is that you start having higher standards. So if someone doesn't treat you right, exactly right, you can spot it really early on. So you're not going to be hanging around hoping that they're going to change, right? You can spot someone from a mile away on whether they have this love, the healthy, emotionally safe, emotionally stable love, or whether they have the emotionally avoidant love. You are going to be able to discern. It's almost like someone who is used to eating, if you are used to eating the luxury thing, right? So you can consider these, the ones on the right side, as like luxury, but these are like the cheap products, the cheap makeup products, or the cheap foods, or whatever that may be. So once you start really becoming used to the luxury, what is it like to have this eloquent, this really attention to detail, that type of love? The same way, when you are used to that really eloquent, detailed love, then anytime someone expresses these, then you know that it's not your problem. It's not you are not the one at fault here, right? You know which problem is theirs. You know the truth of what is. Instead of holding on, picking up the baggage of the entire relationship, you're able to see the truth of what actually is going on here, and you're able to see what they are not ready for too. So instead of taking it personally, you are able to see that these men who are emotionally avoidant, it's not about you, it's them. They haven't dealt with their own emotions. And so, my loves, that is how you rewire this pattern. And instead of attracting men that are emotionally unavailable, you become available. You become used to emotionally intimate, safe, healthy men, because that is what you are used to within yourself. And that, my love, is the root of why you attract emotionally unavailable men, and how you shift that for good in order to have peaceful love in your life. And so if you desire deeper support with that, you can click the link. The link is in the description box, where I offer you a free consultation session, and you can see how that shift looks like personally to you, and you can map out your life transformation, your biggest transformation in your love life and relationships to it too. So with that being said, much love.